And we're bringing in Bill Taylor for more insight on this, the former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine. Bill, welcome. Appreciate you being here and really want to hear your insight on this because this would not be the first time Russia has shot down a passenger plane. There was MH17 that was shot down over Ukraine in 2014. What could the consequences be if Russia did, in fact, cause this crash?
So, Natasha, you're exactly right. The Russian forces have earlier shot down that Malaysian aircraft with 298 people on board. All of them died in that crash. That galvanized the opposition from the Europeans to the Russian invasion. As you say, the Russians had initially invaded Ukraine in 2014. And that summer is when the Russian forces shot down that civilian airline, and that crystallized the opposition from the Europeans to put on sanctions on the Russians for that invasion.
And while aviation experts are still conducting their investigations, it does seem mounting evidence is pointing to Russia. This is from a security firm called Osprey Flight Solutions. They say, quote, subsequent reporting and contextual information, including the follow-on video examination of the wreckage and circumstances surrounding the airspace security environment in southwest Russia, leads Osprey to assess that the flight was likely shot down by a Russian air defense system. What will it take for investigators to confirm this theory?
Well, they've identified holes, explosive holes in the fuselage of that aircraft on the ground. The Russians wanted to first say that the crash was due to a flock of birds. Well, they don't make that kind of holes in aircraft, in the fuselage. So they will find out, the investigators will find out what kind of explosions took place in there, and they will be able to identify what kind of weapon was used against it.
You know, as you say, Russia blaming the crash on a potential collision with birds. In your mind, does this just absolutely not square with the video we've seen clearly showing holes in the fuselage?
You're exactly right, Natasha. You're exactly right. And going back to that earlier crash, that earlier murder when the Russians shot down the Malaysian airline in 2014, they had the amazing number of ludicrous arguments and explanations. One explanation, Natasha, was that the Ukrainians actually had loaded up this aircraft with dead bodies, with corpses, so that when they were on the ground, they were not really the civilians. It's that kind of craziness that you hear from the Russians.
And Russia is telling everyone to wait until the investigation has concluded. We hear a spokesperson saying it would be incorrect to make any hypotheses before the investigation comes to conclusions, and we definitely cannot do it, and no one should do it. Are you confident, first of all, in an unbiased investigation here, and how should we expect Russia to react if they are confirmed to be behind this?
So in terms of an unbiased investigation, that will be hard. There was an unbiased investigation of the earlier crash back in 2014 by the European nations that were involved, who had citizens involved in that crash. This one, we'll see if the Kazakhs will be able to do an unbiased investigation. The Russians have some influence over Kazakhstan, but nonetheless, there will be interest in finding out what went wrong. In terms of the implications, again, this will bring more condemnation on Russia for what they do, whether we're talking about an invasion of Ukraine, their neighbor, or whether they're recklessly shooting down aircraft over other nations' airspace.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.